Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive.
Always. What do we got today?
Today, we're taking a look at the career of Anthony Griffin.
Anthony Griffin.
I think a name that a lot of our listeners are going to say who
Yeah?
to,
Yeah.
and but should know,
Right.
especially if they're in the world of training and leadership
Absolutely.
or running training organizations.
Sounds intriguing. Tell me more.
Well, imagine going from like writing code for credit reports to leading these huge training programs at a hospital.
Yeah.
That's the journey we're going to dive into today.
Right.
With Anthony Griffin.
So fascinating how someone can go from just crunching code to shaping the way thousands of people learn. And we're going to kind of see how those seemingly separate worlds actually connect in a pretty amazing way.
Right. And get this, he's now building an app based on his very unique approach.
Wow.
So we're going to be tracing Anthony's career steps all the way from programmer to training guru to see how this app came to be.
Cool.
Buckle up, because we've got high-stakes projects, million-dollar budgets, leadership lessons learned the hard way. It's a wild ride.
Yep. Managing these huge projects, leading teams, directing over 30 EMR system implementations. That's not just like designing a PowerPoint.
Yeah.
That's changing how whole organizations function.
Right. We're talking serious scale here. I mean, his resume says he managed over $20 million in training projects.
Exactly.
Led teams of like up to 65 training professionals.
It's a different ballgame.
Totally different.
Yeah. What I think is interesting is how those early experiences as a programmer actually laid the groundwork for his success in training later.
Okay, let's unpack that.
Yeah.
Let's rewind to the programmer years.
Yeah.
Anthony starts at Equifax, spending 12 years working his way up to senior developer.
Okay.
He's designing and building these automated systems, even working with a team of PhDs specializing in AI.
Really?
That's got to be intimidating.
You'd think so, right? But this is where we see those glimmers of the leader he'll become.
Right.
He's not just coding away in a corner. He's presenting these cutting-edge systems to big audiences, getting comfortable with public speaking.
Wow.
Skills that prove incredibly valuable later on.
Yeah, it's like those early presentations were like his training ground for leading huge training sessions later on down the line.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And after Equifax, he doesn't just stay in his comfort zone, right? He takes on contract work at Turner Broadcasting. He was knee-deep in their South American cable billing system,
Okay.
working with Oracle stored procedures.
Right.
Then, completely different, working for the Georgia State Department of Corrections,
Okay.
developing web-based applications for prison management.
Wow, so he was seeking out diverse experiences.
Yes.
That sounds like he was deliberately
It would seem so.
building a really unique skill set
Yes.
that spans a pretty wide spectrum.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, and there's a turning point.
This is where it gets really interesting. Remember how we mentioned that entrepreneurial spirit? While juggling all this contract work, Anthony starts his own internet service provider, Lithonia.net.
Wow.
He was even interviewed on the radio show American Inventors Eureka Ranch.
That's so cool.
That really speaks to his drive and initiative.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't someone who's just punching the clock. He's constantly finding ways to apply his knowledge and make a difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that entrepreneurial energy leads him straight to a major turning point.
Okay.
The dot-com bubble burst.
Ah, yes. The early 2000s. That was a rough time for a lot of tech companies.
It was. And it forced Anthony to reevaluate his career path.
So what did he do?
He lands a role at Children's Healthcare, working as both an e-learning developer and a classroom trainer in their technical training department.
Wow. So both.
This is where his passion for training ignites.
This is a pivotal moment. He's not just exposed to training, he's immersed in it from both sides, development and delivery.
Yeah.
And he excels at both.
Yeah.
Setting the stage for his next big move.
Which is a promotion to training manager.
Nice.
Sounds like a fantastic opportunity, but maybe a little daunting too.
Definitely a trial by fire.
Yeah.
His first project as a manager is a huge one, training 2,500 nurses and clinical staff on Epic's inpatient documentation system.
Oh, wow.
This is a massive shift from paper to digital.
Epic, that's not just some simple software.
Yeah.
That's a huge system.
It's used by major hospitals all over the country.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
It's notoriously complex.
Yeah, so the pressure
Yeah.
must have been intense.
Intense. Yeah. Imagine the stakes.
Yeah.
Patient care hinges on accurate documentation. seamless workflows.
Right.
One wrong click could have serious consequences.
Was Anthony ready for that kind of responsibility?
Well, this is where those early struggles come in. He had been a rock star developer and trainer,
Right.
but leading on this scale was a whole new ballgame.
Of course.
He had to navigate changing relationships with former peers, manage expectations from everyone involved, and work alongside these seasoned clinical physician and IT leaders.
That sounds super intense.
Yeah.
What were some of the biggest challenges he faced early on?
I think one of the biggest hurdles was just the sheer scale of the project.
Yeah.
Remember, we're talking about transforming the way 2,500 people do their jobs.
Yeah.
This wasn't just about learning software.
Right.
It was about changing behaviors and workflows.
Oh, wow.
Even the physical environment changed with new mobile computer carts and login procedures.
And Anthony's thrown right in the thick of it.
Yeah.
Was there a moment where he realized just how big of a challenge this was going to be?
Yeah, there was this meeting with his boss, the chief learning officer,
Oh, boy.
and he was told, "You got a tiger by the tail, my friend."
Oh, my.
At that point, nobody, including Anthony, really grasped the complexity of this project.
So he's got this tiger by the tail.
Right.
What were some of those early struggles like?
Well, remember, he was used to individual success, not leading a team.
Right.
So he had to adjust to managing people, some of whom were former peers.
Yeah.
Plus, he needed to keep everyone on track while facing constant pressure from IT clinical leaders, even the CFO.
So it sounds like those early days were pretty rocky.
For sure. But thankfully, he had some fantastic support along the way.
Oh, that's great to hear.
His boss at the time, the chief learning officer, was instrumental in his development. Really saw Anthony's potential and went out of his way to mentor and guide him.
That speaks volumes about the chief learning officer.
It does, choosing to invest in Anthony rather than, giving up on him.
I love those stories of great leadership. It's about empowering people, not just bossing them around.
Absolutely. And, there's this anecdote. His boss, the chief learning officer, actually had a conversation with the chief information officer
Really? What about?
about Anthony. They were both a little worried about his ability to handle leading the department, especially with the massive EMR implementations coming up.
Oh, I see.
But instead of throwing in the towel, the chief learning officer decided to double down on his support.
Was there a specific turning point where he realized he needed to change his approach?
There was this crucial moment where his boss, the CLO, gave him some very direct feedback.
Uh-oh.
He said, "The things you did to be successful to get to this level are not the things that will get you to the next level."
Wow.
It was a wake-up call. His technical and training skills weren't enough.
Right.
He needed next-level leadership skills to succeed.
So that's a powerful realization.
Right.
And so this
Had to develop next-level skills.
you have to.
Yeah.
And so that's where he started developing things like vision,
Right.
Communication, strategic planning, being able to inspire his team
Right.
and manage up, down, and all around.
Those are the essential leadership skills
Yeah.
that they don't always teach in a textbook.
What did those next level skills look like in practice?
Okay, so one example involves a meeting with this physician leader who wanted to see the training project plan.
Okay.
Anthony caught off guard, scrambled to put something together, but it completely missed the mark.
Oh, I bet that was awkward. What went wrong with the plan?
His initial plan was based on his IT background, full of technical jargon and timelines.
Okay.
This physician leader needed something different. He needed to see how the training would impact their time, their patients, the overall workflow.
So Anthony had to learn to speak the language of the physicians and address their specific concerns.
Right.
What did he do to turn things around?
He had to completely rethink his understanding of what a project plan should be in this context.
Okay.
He dug in, did his homework, and figured out how to quantify the training needs in a way that resonated with the physicians.
So instead of just saying, here's the training, he had to explain why it mattered, how long it would take, and why it was worth pulling them away from their patients for this time.
Exactly.
And this is where we start to see Anthony's leadership abilities really blossom.
Yes. That experience taught him the importance of
Okay.
understanding what leaders need
Right.
and how to communicate the value of training in the way that resonated with them.
Yeah. He not only developed a plan that satisfied the physician leader, but he also tackled some major challenges that were threatening the entire project. Sounds like things were about to get even more intense.
Yes. Remember, this was all happening with the CIO and CLO watching closely, waiting to see if Anthony could deliver.
So not only was he navigating the challenges of being a new leader,
Yes.
but the project itself
Yes.
was in a precarious position.
the system wasn't ready for training materials to be created.
Okay.
The go-live date was pushed back.
Oh.
His team was understaffed, and morale was starting to dip.
So how did he turn things around?
He stepped up.
Yeah.
He meticulously calculated the resources they needed.
Okay.
And presented a compelling case to his boss and the IT leaders.
Yeah.
And ultimately secured an additional $1.5 million.
Wow.
From the CFO to do the training right. This allowed him to hire more instructional designers, trainers, e-learning developers, and support staff.
Gotcha.
And it also meant developing a comprehensive training plan.
Right.
And crucially, inspiring his newly expanded team to rise to the occasion.
I bet.
So.
Yeah. Okay, so the pressure on, did he manage to pull it off?
He did. The go-live was a success described as quiet, which in the world of, these high-stakes implementations is high praise.
Wow.
Even Epic recognized the hospital for having such well-prepared staff and a smooth rollout.
That's a huge win, especially after all those early struggles.
Yeah, and one of the keys to that success was Anthony's innovative super user strategy.
Yeah.
He convinced leadership to ditch the traditional approach and implement a much more intensive program.
What made his approach different?
His super users didn't just get a quick overview. They received dedicated change management training, attended the same instructor-led classes as the regular staff, and then served as aides during the actual training sessions.
So it was almost like training the trainers first.
Exactly. It was a big shift requiring careful scheduling and extra budget approvals. But Anthony was able to demonstrate the value of this investment. He understood that, well-trained super users would be crucial for supporting staff and ensuring a seamless transition.
It sounds like this was more than just a technical solution. It was about understanding the human side of change management.
Absolutely. And this is a testament to his evolving training philosophy. He was moving beyond just checking boxes and towards achieving true proficiency.
Yeah.
He was already starting to think about training as a strategic asset, not just a cost center.
So he wasn't just focused on getting people through the training. He wanted to make sure they could actually use the new system effectively in their day-to-day work.
Right, and that shift in thinking was further solidified by a gift from his boss, the CLO.
Oh, nice.
He gave Anthony a copy of the book Breakaway,
Right.
which really resonated with him and fueled his passion for proficiency-based training.
What was it about that book that clicked with Anthony?
The book emphasized the importance of moving beyond surface-level learning and focusing on helping people master the skills they need to perform their jobs effectively.
So it's not just about knowing the steps. It's about understanding why those steps matter and how to apply them in different situations.
Exactly. It's about developing true proficiency, not just passing a test. And Anthony saw how aligning training with business goals could lead to significant improvements in performance and ultimately contribute to the bottom line.
That makes sense, but was leadership on board with this new approach to training?
That was Anthony's next big challenge, convincing leadership to see training as a business driver and not just a checkbox.
Right.
It meant quantifying the return on investment for training, demonstrating how it could improve performance and contribute to the bottom line.
It sounds like he had to make a strong business case for investing in training.
He did, and he was able to do just that. He racked up an impressive string of successes at Children's Healthcare,
Oh, wow.
including a highly successful enterprise training program for over 8,000 employees for the implementation of API Healthcare's time and attendance system.
That sounds massive.
Mm-hmm.
What were the goals for that project?
The goal was to achieve 0 manual payroll checks after go live.
Ambitious.
And thanks to his strategic approach, they achieved it.
Wow, that's impressive. So he had hard data to back up his claims about the value of training.
Exactly, and it wasn't just a one-off success.
Right.
Anthony went on to lead the training for simultaneous system implementations for revenue cycle, patient schedule, admissions, discharge transfers, and operating room documentation. Talk about a challenge.
That sounds incredibly complex. How did he even begin to approach a project of that scale?
He started by conducting a thorough audience analysis for 75 departments and over 100 mission-critical job functions to determine their specific training needs. He didn't just assume everyone needed the same training. He tailored it to each role and department.
That's a lot of ground to cover. Did all that effort pay off?
The results speak for themselves. They achieved 0 revenue loss and 0 downtime for all the departments trained, and approximately 98% of trainees performed as expected or better upon go live.
Wow.
Anthony clearly had a knack for turning potential chaos into remarkable success.
Yeah, it sounds like he was building a reputation for being able to handle even the toughest training challenges.
He was, and it's important to remember that, Anthony didn't do this alone.
Right.
He built and led these incredibly talented teams of instructional designers, classroom trainers, e-learning developers, and operational trainers. He was a true champion for his team, empowering them to excel and pushing the boundaries of what was possible in training.
So he had a knack for not only developing effective training, but also for building and motivating those high-performing teams.
So he was building this whole training ecosystem within children's healthcare.
He was. And he was constantly pushing the boundaries of what training could be. He moved the organization from those boring, static, slide-based e-learning modules to stuff with simulations, animations, even video. Way ahead of the curve on that.
Video is everywhere in training now, but back then, that was pretty cutting edge.
It was. He actually led the creation of an entire e-learning studio so they could produce high-quality video content. Plus, implemented smartboard technology, championed WebEx for virtual training. The guy was a whirlwind of innovation. He even presented at the e-learning guild in 2010, sharing his expertise on e-learning infrastructure, always giving back to the community.
He sounds like a real visionary. But it wasn't just about the tech, right? He also focused on that day-to-day training for new staff.
Absolutely. He managed a team of 4 operational trainers who were responsible for onboarding all the new hires at the hospital.
So creating this culture of continuous learning right from the start.
Exactly. And here's a fun fact. He actually partnered with Carol Barnum.
Barnum.
Carol Barnum was leading the usability lab at Kennesaw State University. Anthony brought her in to help assess and improve their e-learning modules.
Wait, a usability lab for e-learning? I've never heard of that before.
It's pretty cool. They'd bring in hospital staff, have them go through the modules while being video recorded, and then Anthony and his team would watch behind a two-way mirror. They'd analyze how people interacted with the modules, listen to their feedback, and then use that to make improvements.
You know, did they get stuck? Did they understand the instructions? It was all about gathering real-world feedback to make the training as effective as possible.
So it wasn't just about creating the training. It was about constantly refining it based on user feedback.
Exactly. Anthony was committed to continuous improvement. He wanted to make sure the training was not only engaging, but also truly effective in helping people learn and apply new skills. So bringing user-centered design principles to e-learning. That makes so much sense, putting the learner at the heart of the design process.
It's all about creating training that's actually engaging and effective, not just something people have to suffer through.
He was also incredibly data-driven, always tracking metrics and using data to inform his decisions and demonstrate the impact of the training.
Right.
And then perhaps most importantly, he never lost sight of the bigger picture.
Okay.
How the training connected to overall business goals and organizational success.
Right. So it sounds like he really understood
Yes.
the strategic role that training could play
He did.
within an organization.
And he wasn't afraid to champion that.
This brings us back to
Yes.
his current project,
Okay.
the app he's developing
Yes.
to teach his business performance-based training model.
Yes.
It's like he's coming full circle,
He is.
taking all the lessons he's learned
Absolutely.
throughout his career
Yes.
and packaging them into a tool
Yeah.
that can help others achieve similar success.
That's exactly right.
So tell me more about the app.
Okay.
What can our listeners expect?
Well, it's important to understand that this isn't a content creation
Okay.
or instructional design tool.
Yeah.
This is a teaching tool designed to help people understand
Gotcha.
and implement his specific methodology
Right.
for aligning training with business goals.
Yeah.
The app will guide users through the process of identifying performance targets, developing proficiencies,
Okay.
monitoring progress, and managing training projects
Okay.
with a laser focus on business outcomes.
So that sounds like a very valuable resource
Yes.
for anyone who's in the training world.
Absolutely.
Do we know when it's launching?
He's aiming for an MVP release in the first quarter of 2025,
Okay.
with a full public launch planned for the second quarter of that year.
Okay.
He's also planning to gather feedback from training professionals and leaders
Guides.
on LinkedIn before the wide release,
Right.
which just speaks to his commitment to
Yes.
getting it right
Absolutely.
and making sure it truly meets the needs of the training community.
It is fantastic to see someone so dedicated
It is.
to sharing their knowledge.
Yeah.
And helping others succeed.
And you can tell he's got that in his DNA.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So we've explored his training philosophy,
Yes.
his innovative work with e-learning,
Yeah.
and his approach to building these high-performing teams.
Yeah.
What else can we unpack?
Well, there's more to uncover. In the next segment, we're going to delve into his personal mission, his work outside the corporate world, and some of the key takeaways that we can all learn from.
I'm excited to hear it.
His extraordinary journey.
All right, we'll be right back after a short break.
Welcome back to The Deep Dive. We've been unpacking the career of Anthony Griffin, someone who's clearly passionate about maximizing human potential through training.
And it's that passion that really shines through in everything he does. It's not just about the technical skills or the impressive accomplishments.
It's about this genuine belief in the power of training to transform lives and organizations.
Right, and we've seen that play out in his career.
Yes.
From leading these large-scale system implementations, to pioneering new approaches to e-learning, to building these high-performing teams.
Absolutely.
But it sounds like this commitment extends beyond the corporate world as well.
It does, absolutely.
So tell me about that.
Anthony's designed and delivered training for churches, community organizations.
Wow, this guy just can't help but...
It's like it's in his DNA.
Share his love of learning and development.
That's right.
No matter the setting.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And speaking of mission, what is Anthony's stated mission when it comes to training? His mission statement is, journey with people while using the art and science of training to maximize our human achievement.
I love that.
Pretty good, huh?
It really speaks to that belief in the transformative power of training.
Yes.
And this dedication to continuous learning and improvement.
Yes.
And it's clear that that belief is deeply rooted in his own experiences. But eventually, Anthony's journey led him beyond children's healthcare.
Oh, so what happened next? Did he stay in healthcare training, or did he branch out into something completely different?
Well, he definitely kept exploring the training field, but he also branched out in some interesting ways. He even earned a certified brain health coach credential from Amen Clinics.
Amen Clinics. That's the place with all the brain imaging and neurofeedback, right?
That's the one. It shows how Anthony's always been fascinated by the intersection of neuroscience and learning. He went on to work at companies like Biogen, focusing more on LMS administration and managing smaller training projects.
So scaling back a bit from those huge hospital-wide implementations.
A bit, yeah. But he never lost his passion for training. In fact, he even applied his expertise to his wife's makeup application business.
Now, that's interesting. What did he do? Create a training program for aspiring makeup artists?
He did. He put together this whole video-based training program teaching people the techniques and skills they needed to succeed.
That's amazing. From brain surgery to smoky eyes, the guy can train anyone on anything. But seriously, it's awesome how he can apply those same principles across such diverse industries. It shows how effective training is really about understanding human behavior and learning.
In all of these experiences, the successes, the struggles, the lessons learned, ultimately led Anthony to his current project, developing an app to teach others how to implement his business performance-based training model.
Yeah, this is the culmination of his journey, the distillation of everything he's learned about training into a tool that can empower others to achieve similar results.
So he's taking all those years of experience and putting them into an app that's pretty amazing.
It is, and it's important to note that this app isn't about content creation or instructional design. It's about teaching a methodology. A way of thinking about training that aligns with business goals and focuses on achieving measurable outcomes.
So it's like a blueprint for building effective training programs.
Exactly. It's about helping organizations shift their mindset and see training as a strategic investment, not just a cost center.
And he's not just developing this app, he's built an entire business entity around it called ThoughtLift. I love that name. What's the story behind it?
The name reflects his belief in the power of training to elevate thinking and drive positive change. It's about inspiring people to reach their full potential both individually and collectively. And Anthony sees this app as a way to spread that message and help others unlock the true power of training.
It sounds like he's really passionate about democratizing access to these effective training methods.
He believes that everyone deserves access to high-quality training that can help them succeed in their careers and make a meaningful contribution to their organizations.
So when can we expect to see this app in action? What's the timeline for release?
The plan is to have a minimum viable product ready for review and feedback from training professionals in the first quarter of 2025. Based on that feedback, they'll make any necessary adjustments and then aim for a public launch in the second quarter of 2025.
So not too far off. I'm sure a lot of people in the training world are eagerly awaiting this.
They are, and while Anthony is excited about the potential impact of his app, it's also very clear that he doesn't see it as a revolutionary disruptor.
Right.
He sees it as a valuable helper,
Right.
a tool that can guide and support those who are struggling to make training a strategic asset for their organizations.
That's a refreshing perspective. He's not trying to reinvent the wheel. He's trying to make existing wheels roll more smoothly.
Exactly. It's about providing practical guidance and a proven framework that can help training professionals achieve real results.
So it's less about revolution and more about evolution.
Precisely. It's about building on what works and refining it to make it even better.
It's amazing to see how far he's come, from writing code to building a business focused on training.
Yeah, it really highlights the power of continuous learning and adapting to new challenges.
Yeah.
Anthony never stopped growing, never settled for the status quo.
And it wasn't just about acquiring those new skills.
Right.
It was about connecting the dots between his different experiences.
Yeah.
He brought his technical background, his leadership skills, and his passion for training all together to create something truly unique.
That's what makes his story so inspiring. He didn't just follow a linear path.
Right.
He carved his own way by embracing the unexpected turns and learning from every step.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the career of Anthony Griffin,
Yes.
what are some of the key takeaways? What can our listeners, who are mostly training leaders and organizations,
Yes.
learn from his journey?
I think one of the biggest takeaways is the importance of aligning training with business goals. Anthony has consistently demonstrated that training can be a powerful driver of organizational success when it's focused on solving real business problems and achieving measurable outcomes.
Right. It's about moving beyond just checking boxes.
Yes.
And demonstrating the real value that training can bring to an organization.
You have to be able to speak the language of business,
Right.
quantify the impact of your training programs,
Right.
and show how they contribute to the bottom line.
Right. Another takeaway that really struck me was his focus on proficiency.
Yes.
It's not just about imparting knowledge.
Right.
It's about developing true mastery,
That's right.
ensuring that people can actually apply what they've learned to their jobs
Yeah.
and perform at the highest level.
And that requires a deep understanding of the
That's down.
skills and knowledge required for specific roles and the ability to design training that targets those proficiencies directly.
And let's not forget his innovative work with e-learning. He was ahead of the curve in embracing new technologies and finding creative ways to make online learning more engaging and effective.
Yeah. He understood the power of using technology strategically to enhance the learning experience and create truly impactful training.
And finally, I think his emphasis on building strong, collaborative teams is a crucial lesson for any leader, not just in the training world.
He created a culture of trust, respect, and mutual support.
Yeah.
Empowering his team members to contribute their best work.
How can you leverage your own experiences and passions to drive positive change and achieve those remarkable results?
Anthony's story shows us that the possibilities are truly limitless. It's about finding that spark, nurturing it, and letting it guide you towards a fulfilling and impactful journey.
And remember, keep an eye out for more information about Anthony's app and methodology as it becomes available. His story is an inspiration to anyone looking to make a real difference.
Absolutely.
So, there you have it, a deep dive into the world of Anthony Griffin.
It was fun.
We hope you found this exploration as fascinating as we did.
I did.
Until next time on The Deep Dive.